Hello. So today I want to present my review about my reading books. The title is The Suitable Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And then without any further ado, let's get started. Chapter 1, Part 1 tells about the struggle of the main character, namely Charles Bukowski, who is a worker in a post office. He has aspirations to be a writer, but his works are always rejected by publishers. He caught a chance when he was allowed to publish his book. He did not waste the opportunity, and he managed to sell hundreds of copies of his book. Being successful doesn't turn Bukowski into a good person. It's because he chose to remain himself. It teaches to care about simple things or only care about something meaningful and important. Bukowski failed many times, but he chose to don't care and made friends with failure. In the second chapter, entitled Look from Hell, in this chapter, the author tries to change our mindset not to worry too much about something. When we are anxious, we will worry about why we are anxious, right? We are anxious because we are anxious. The author wants reader not to care too much about the failures that we experience, not to see the success of happiness of other, but to see and appreciate what has been achieved. Seeing other people's success will only make us try to be better again and again. Without realizing it will only make us feel the worst, the most failure, or the poorest. When it fails, it's good for us to accept the failures and not to be bothered. But most people do the opposite. People tend to see other people's happiness when they fail it, and it will only make themselves worse off. This will only make us not accept reality and tend to want a result. Must be exactly what we want and consider failure an injustice. The third section explains what "don't care" means according to this book. First, not caring does not mean first, not caring does not mean being indifferent. Not caring means comfortable being indifferent. This book strictly forbids us to be indifferent, which means we don't pay attention to anything. This book asks us to not care about people who get angry when we do something we think is right, and not to care about the obstacles that get in the way of our goals. Second, to be able to say don't care about adversity. We must first care about what is far more important than adversity. This will help us to be able to sort out what is important and what is not, because otherwise our attention will be focused on things that are not meaningful. And finally, whether you realize it or not, you always have something to watch out for. The fourth part of first the first chapter discuss what is discussed in this book. The author says that this book is not a solution to your problems, nor is it a book uh, to achieve success, but this book is a book to help us determine what is important in our life. This book helps us to see mistakes from the bad side, to turn trauma into strength, and make problems be better. This book doesn't teach how to get things, it teaches how to let things go. Chapter 2, Part 1 tells about a prince from Nepal who is pampered with his father's wealth. Without any of his request being denied and surrounded by many children and abundant wealth, never once did the prince feel hungry, pain, or cold. The prince never felt suffering, but the prince did not find happiness from his luxury, but he realized that his luxury was his suffering. The prince suffered from the dissatisfaction he feels from his luxuries, the which makes himself leave his wealth and live on the street. In the next chapter, teach us that life is about collection of problems. The solution of a problem will only create new problems, so do not avoid trouble. Pain due to problem is not always bad. Like when we are walking and bumping into a trouble, we will spontaneously say, "Who put the table here?" or "Damn table." So hateful that we do this makes us pay more attention to the table in front of us and try not to ever do it again. We learn from pain because of problem. We evolve because of problem. We find new path. We know when we get lost. We no longer try to put our finger in the stop contact hole. Without problems, we will never learn to be better. If life expects there will never problem, then it will never happen. So just accept the problem and solve it. Chapter 2, Part 3 teach us that don't ever avoid a problem, because if you avoid problem, it will only make you feel calm for a while, but the problem you leave behind will become even more complicated. It will only prevent your happiness from coming. This is indeed very addictive, but the longer we avoid it, more it took a long time for the problem to be resolved. So where happiness come from? Therefore, happiness come from a problem solved. No problem, then no happiness. Solution to our present problem will be a stronghold for our next problem. Happiness comes when we can accept it and enjoy the process of solving it. In the next chapter, I discuss emotion. Emotion are signals from within us to take any action that is right according to ourselves. But solving problem relying solely in emotion will only make matter more complicated. There will be regrets afterward. But avoiding emotion is also not good. It will only make your problem unsolvable. Therefore, solving problem must use logic and emotion so that problem can be resolved properly. The example, when we feel sad, then we are compelled not to do something that makes us sad, or you could say guide for us, but not another. For the example, when we break up with a girlfriend, we will definitely regret and not want to make a mistake a second time. But if this only relies on emotion, we could be doing silly things such as damaging some items, scolding people, or maybe standing in the middle of the street and shouting, "Babe, I'm sorry," like seen in the movie. Alright, thank you. That's all for me. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you.